Get that going. Okay, we're all set. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, very first thing is my name is Sean Kindle, and I'm kind of helping out with this pilot here in terms of Edulastic side, and so I'll be able to answer a lot of questions that you all have in terms of how Edulastic works. But of course, Matt Mole is also on this call, and he's Carnegie Learning, so he'll be able to certainly help out as well. So you have a couple of us that really look forward to working with you all and helping you with whatever questions you all have. As we right before we get started here, I do want to point out a couple different features in terms of how you can get help, just in case you need it. It's this green question mark at the bottom left once we get signed in. And this green is our help center. And so you just click on that and you can type in something like print, and it will give you a whole bunch of articles, as well as some of these will have videos to kind of walk you through how to do that. So it's going to help you out with, how to do certain things in Edulastic. And then over here, you have the chat icon, and we can click on that and we can say, hey, I'm trying to reopen my assessments. And then we'll send you, an article or answer to your question and get you the help that you need to make sure that you're as successful as possible with Edulastic. So as far as today's session, are we wanting to do you just want me to go over it? Or are we kind of walking through? Are people in Edulastic wanting to actually follow along?
Stephanie, what are your thoughts on that?
I was having problems last night finding things that I thought were there that are not there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I played around quite a bit. And also I don't know how to make my own stuff.
Okay.
From like makes. Those are my questions.
Okay.
So how about I show how to do it just for sake of time.
Okay.
And I can show how to do it. And then, like I said, you have me. You can always reach out to Matt Moles on the call as well. And Brianna's got my email. So, at any time, feel free to reach out and we'll help you from there.
Okay.
For sake of time, I'll just kind of go over it today.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm in my account for you all. You all will go through Carnegie Learning. So you'll go through, the Carnegie Learning portal and then sign into Edulastic from there. And then that's just going to get you, into Edulastic. It's going to get you're going to choose the correct school and get signed in and everything. Edulastic is an assessment platform. And so we're working with Carnegie Learning in terms of getting their assessments and their content into Edulastic. And that's kind of what the goal is here. And to access those materials, what we would do is we would go to the library. Now, the library is just where the pre-made assessments are going to be. When we want individual questions, we could use the question bank. But for today, we're just going to kind of take a look at the library, and then we'll move over to the question bank in a little bit. So in the library, the way to access the Carnegie Learning materials is going to be through this collections button. When I choose collection, I should, and if you don't, that's something that we need to talk about. You should see the Carnegie Learning banks here, and they're just CLI, either HSMS or MSMS. And so I'm just going to choose the HSMS traditional bank here and apply filter. And so now I have 198 assessments pop up. Here's some Algebra 1, Geometry. I believe Algebra 2 is in here as well. And I can search that. Yep, there's Algebra 2. So you're going to find these assessments, and these are already created from Carnegie Learning. So these should be materials that you're somewhat familiar with, and they're going to follow along the same path. So you have Module 5, Topic 2, Standardized Practice Test, Topic Test, Form A, and things like that. So these tests are going to help you in our program track your standards. Now these are all assessment based. So it's meant for, exactly that in our platform. It's just strictly assessment in terms of, you give this test to your students, they take it, you get the results, and then you use the Carnegie Learning materials or some other way to remediate with your students, and then you come back to Edulastic and test again. So we're not necessarily like take the test and then we're going to give you resources after that. We're just strictly assessment. Now, if I'm looking for a particular test, I can just come up here to the top and I can search by name. So I can type in Algebra 1 here. And then all my Algebra 1s are going to show up. And I have 70 assessments here. Now, if I wanted a specific module, I can do Algebra 1, Module 3. And now only my 3 Module 3 tests will show, sorry, my 10 Module 3 assessments will show up. If I wanted a specific standard, I can do that up here, and I can filter my results and filter out these assessments without needing to know the name by using these filters. So I could choose, let's say, 10th grade here, subject math, standard set, you all are Missouri, and apply. And so now here's all my grade 10 mathematics, Carnegie Learning assessments for Missouri mathematics. I could go a step further and even choose the individual standard I wanted to look at as well. Let's see what that brings up. Looks like they're all wanting to be tagged to that one. I wonder if there's a different standard here that will bring up a different number. Nope. Okay. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And this one doesn't appear to be bringing up something different. So that might be, actually, let's just try this. There we go. I forgot to click apply filter. And so now I chose the specific standard, and now I have my 5 assessments that will have that standard on it. Now at this point, all I have to do as a teacher is assign the assessment. So I found the assessment, I can preview the assessment, look at it as how the student's going to see it. You know, here's a question, the ability to flag, type in my answers, play around with it as if I'm a student. So then I can get comfortable with the tools. So let's say 2/3, and then thirds. Trying to click in my little box here. There we go. 2/3, and then now there's my answer. So the ability to play around with it as a student. And then from there, again, all we're going to do from there is just assign. And so when I assign that assessment, we'll have classes that we're going to set up here in just a little bit. I'm going to show you how to do that, but I wanted to show you the material first. And so we're going to have some classes that we're going to set up, and we have the ability to integrate with Google Classroom. So if you use Google Classroom, that is something that we allow you to sync those Google Classrooms and create the rosters automatically within Edulastic. And then we also do, you know, a manual teacher upload where you can just add students by copying and pasting or typing them in. But an easier way would be the rostering using a class code. Now I have my classes here. And so what I'm going to do with my open close date, my policies and things like that, is we're going to set those to manual. We're not going to worry about the open and close date because when we're doing manually, those don't really matter. But the benefit here is going to be your assessment settings that you're going to have. So when I go through here and I do open manually and close manually, all that means is that the assessment won't be seen by students until me as the teacher clicks on open. Same thing for close. The assessment's not going to close until I actually click that. But you don't have to worry because the results are actually going to come in immediately for you. You don't have to wait for the assessment to close. So they're going to be coming in immediately, whether the assessment's closed or not. And once the student submits, It doesn't matter if the assessment's not closed. They cannot take a retake unless you actually give them that retake. Now, once you do that and you choose those policies there, you're going to have the ability to choose all of your classes, an individual class, or click on the No Student Selected and choose individual students. Once you choose those students and classes that you want to assign to, we move to the superpowers. And these are going to be your piloted features. So these are the upgraded features that we're going to have until December. But these are superpowers, and these are going to be your assessment settings to help you assign this Carnegie Learning Assessment to make sure that you're testing in the way that's secure, safe, and make sure that students aren't trying to copy each other or cheat or anything like that. Just leave mark as done as automatic. That seems to be the best way. I've been working with Edulastic for almost a year and I have not ever had to use manual. Release scores. Release scores will show students how they did after they click that submit button. So it will show them that they got a 75 and that they missed question 3. This one down here takes it a step further and not only tells them that they missed question 3, but it lets them read the question again. It allows them to see their answer and what the correct answer was. So if you're giving retakes, you want that one off. You have shuffle questions and shuffle answer choices. Typically you like those on just because it randomizes it and makes sure students can't look at each other's screens. And it does not shift the data. So if you built it and it's question 1 on your assessment that you built, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 12, 1, 3, 4, any number on their test, it will always be number 1 in your data. You have the ability to add a calculator, and these are Desmos calculators. So a scientific, basic, or graphing. And these are actually on a per assessment basis, which means that you'll have these for the entire assessment or not at all. So unfortunately, at this time, you cannot add it to an individual question. We have answer on paper, but you won't ever need to use that even if you do use paper as your assessment, if you decide to print it out and just give it on paper. And then we have require password. Again, another safety feature here, or security feature, making sure students aren't accessing when they're not supposed to. What happens is our password defaults to 15 minutes. And when you open that assessment, because we're on manually open by teacher, when you open the assessment, it gives you a password. You give that password to the students that are in your class, and now they're able to take the assessment. After 15 minutes, that password automatically expires, which means when they leave your class and sign out of Edulastic, they're not able to access that assessment when they're at home. They're not able to access it when they're in the next class. That means there's no cheating on their part in terms of, searching answers or anything like that, but also they can't give the answers to their next class or their friend in another class or something like that. And then evaluation method is the final piece here. And this is all or nothing, partial credit, and don't penalize for incorrect selection. Now, all or nothing is exactly that. They just either get it correct or incorrect. There's really no in between. But if you do partial credit, you have the option to not penalize for incorrect selection. And what that means is that potentially a student could choose all of the options on a multi-select and they would get 100 because it's not penalizing. So that's one that you have to be careful with. If you turn it off, then that means if a student chooses 2 answers, one's correct, one's incorrect, they're going to get a 0 because it cancels out. So just, you have to think about that one in how you want that test to look. Do you want them to, possibly choose all answers and get 100? Or do you want to just make sure that, you at least know that they have partial credit. They got at least one part right.
And is that setting for the entire test,